Hey fellow stock media artists, shooters, cinematographers, you name it. Andy here, back again from Vader Video, and this is another episode of Notes from the Field. I had hinted on a prior video something along the lines of using this curved slider, if you will. This slider is available. You'll see it at the bottom of the blog entry for this video. I wanted to see how it would work with my favorite toy here, the Syrp Genie. And one of the key things to remember with the Syrp Genie is that in order for it to function, there has to be decent tension on the line. And I was thinking originally that the geometry as the lines would move would keep that tension steady. However, I was wrong. And that happens. So you end up doing a lot of experimenting. So what I did was I figured out a way to make this happen so that it would work not only in desktop mode as it is right now, but also on tripods and be very portable. So I had to develop some sort of a mechanism that would keep the tension going, and this is what the end result is here. And you can see here is the rope from the Genie. Here it's tied off on the one end with excess just dangling down, and then in here we have the tensioner, and the magic to the tensioner is basically a spring. And a spring of maybe 1.5 to 2 pounds of tension max. You don't want to over stress because you could snap the cord, or who knows what could happen. Plus you don't want it to snap and hit you in the face or something of that sort. Springs like this one's a little longer than the one I'm using right now, but basically these are all available at your local hardware store. Another thing, I use a turnbuckle here, and the turnbuckle is so that after the fact I can just tighten it by turning the buckle. That's why they're called turnbuckles. And then in simplicity mode, or to make it very easy to put together in the field, you could just hook the turnbuckle to the spring and do something along these lines and so on and so forth. But I use these little carabiners to tie things together. They're a lot of fun, handy to have. Go to a trade show, a lot of people give them away for free. These are not for climbing, by the way, but they're good enough for something like this, and I'll show you the details on that. In any case, I have a bunch of parts here. I went through several gyrations, and the very first gyration was basically just some stuff I had laying around in the garage. And what I did, this is the end of a handle of one of those pool vacuums. And then I just put a pin in here. This is a spring pin, so that we have something round, not sharp. And the rope basically went over that, and this was just kind of velcroed on to the end here. The only problem with that is it wouldn't work here in a desktop mode, so I kind of threw that idea out. And also noticed that we had to have these edges here because the rope, as you can see, pulls to this direction. So it was basically going around here and then still catching. Even though this is fairly smooth, it was still a little bit tight, and it wasn't really smooth because there has to be a little bit of relief as the Genie goes around, which you'll see in a couple of minutes. In any case, Velcro is always cool to have. I'll keep this around because who knows, I may need it someday and for some other reason. Then I tried another version, and what I did here was I just took a straight coupler and basically cut it in half of 3/4 inch PVC, and put it on each end, and put a cutout in here. And the way I did this cutout was just simply drill with a 1/2 inch drill, and then just file it out a little bit so that it would literally slide on. And you'll see I used that a couple of times and discovered very quickly that this edge here wasn't high enough, so I took a 1-inch connector or coupling and slid it right on there like that, so that I had a little more wall here. And this of course is sitting here, and if you look, it's not at a good angle. The rope kind of gets kinked as it goes around. It was a try. And finally I thought to myself, okay, hey, we got about a 45 here, the angle of the rope. It's not true 45, but close enough. And so I figured, well, I'll just get some 3/4 inch, a short little piece here, a couple of 45-degree pieces of coupling, and the object is to put this together like this. So you just pop that in, and I recommend gluing this, because what you're going to do to it afterwards might be beneficial if it is glued. And you'll see there's fine little seam lines so that you can line it up so that it is a perfect angle. And that's what this piece is right here. And then I just took a little piece of aluminum, and you can get, again, this at your local hardware store. And this is 1/16 inch thick aluminum bar. It's angle aluminum by 1/2 inch by 3/4 inch, so 1/2 inch high by 3/4 inch wide. And the reason you only want to get 1/16 is because you need to have a very thin piece right here. That's this little piece that you make. And these are the bumpers that come with the slider. So what I'm using is one of the bumpers here, and I just screwed it in. It's a simple little M4, but the depth of the threads is so small that you don't want to go any thicker than 1/16 inch. And then this is bolted on, and I have a wing nut. So this all comes apart very quickly. It's very nice, very easy. And we'll get into more detail about the little bits and pieces, but it's really simple. But in any case, just to prove the point, I'm going to turn on the Genie here, and I'm going to do a little vanity shot. And these kinds of shots are actual money shots, because for stock footage, if you want to do, you know, a beautiful woman or, you know, a handsome guy like me, you can do this. So I'm just going to go into video mode, and I just want to show what happens when you run this. And so it's basically running, and what's happening is you're seeing, and I'll show close-ups of this, tension on the spring as it gets to the center. And then as it gets back over to here, it loosens up again. So, but the tension is consistent here. And that's very important. And that's what this whole mechanism that you can see may be a little bit better now. But I'll show close-ups of all this. And there we go. So we just traveled about 1 foot 6 inches, 1 foot 7 inches, something like that. And now I'm just going to return to home. But as you can see, it runs very smoothly. It goes back to its position, and the key is the line stays taut. So I'm going to turn this on right now, and we are actually going to do a live recording so that you actually believe this is working. I have kind of a wide angle lens on here. So I'm going to hit record, and I'm just going to hit start. And here we go. And, you know, this is a cool traverse shot around the head, for example, if you want to do some head shots. You could add some wind and have hair blowing, and, you know, these are simple shots, good commercial shots, and also good pickup shots if you're doing an interview. You could do a couple of these kinds of shots around your subject, whatever have you. So here we go, and now we're at a finished point. That was UPS going by, dropping off some new toys. And now I'm going to return to home, and I'm still recording. So I'm just letting the camera roll and do its thing. But very smooth, very nice, and as you can see, very handsome. But in any case, so that's how to do a self-portrait real quick. But I want to show all the different components. So I'm going to take the Genie off. Remember, you pull the lever and then just plop it on, and this is just my little temporary mini tripod. So like I said, here is this piece, but let me show you how this all disassembles. So this is the Syrp end. I'm only using one, and there it goes. I let it go, and everything's loose now. So I can disconnect and literally put this stuff aside. And as you can see, stuff happens. But very short thread on here, so that's why you want to have real thin material. And so this is it. This is the piece that I was telling you about. And basically, very cool, very simple. Drill out with a 1/2-inch drill, and you get this nice slot. And then I just put a 1/4 20. I use 1/4 20s whenever possible, or in some cases 3/8. Why? Because that's the standard for tripods and mechanisms. So I just went and bought a whole bunch of different size 1/4 20 bolts and wing nuts and all kinds of stuff. And basically this comes apart, so we can take that out. I always like to keep the parts together so that it's really easy. But the reason I just took that apart was I wanted to show you this finished piece. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take this off. So there's the end connector for the line. Here's the bumper on the other end of this radial thing. So here you go. There's the base of the winch mechanism of the Genie. And I'm just going to take this guy off and put him aside. So now I can show you the bottom. And basically what I did was, they have these tripod holes all around this radius. And I just used a 1/4 20 thumb knob that, again, I just got at my local hardware store. And the reason I got a decent size was so that I could tighten it down. And then I just put the spring, one end of the spring on that, and put it in at the furthest possible point for tripod. And then just, it doesn't have to be super tight, just as long as it's holding the spring. Here is the carabiner, and that's handy when you have only access to the turnbuckle that has one end hook, one end loop. Sometimes you can get them where they are hooked on both ends. That's up to you, however you want to do this. The key is, I just want it simple to put together so that I can put it together quickly. And what I recommend is when you first put it together is open the turnbuckle as much as possible. And all you need to do is turn it. So that way you can fine-tune, adjust the tightness after the fact once you have your rope connected. Now I have this little, I don't know what they call it, it's like a cable tie kind of thing, except for real cable. And I just made a little loop in the rope. You can just create your own loop by doing a knot and then slipping it on there. I just like to do things, I don't know. But in any case, so that's what it looks like. And the key thing that or the key reason I went with this method and with this guy here, with the bolt and the mechanism, is I could use it on a tabletop. Now, of course, if you look at the video where I'm shooting on the tripods, I just used this guy by himself, just slipped on the end here. So I'm going to show how that works. If I can find the right wrench, that would always be helpful. There we go. So I'm just going to take off one of these sets of legs here. And it's just a couple of screws. Again, they're 4mm. Comes with it. Very small. But in any case, this would basically then just slip on here, and it fits real snug. I made it so that it would fit real snug. And now up on a tripod, I don't even need to bolt it on or anything. I could just leave that on and just leave it alone. But anyways, I like to keep things as simple as possible and functional so that it works. So you can see a little experimentation different variations, tried different things. This one you'll see in a video that I'm going to show where I just hung weights on it. And I was actually looking at possibly doing some sort of a weight mechanism. The problem is again, if you're on a desktop, that doesn't work because you don't have a lot of space here. You know, you only have this height, unless you want to hang it off the end of a table or something, but then you're still limited. I don't want to be limited. In any case, that's what I'm talking about. This is a really cool curved rail or slider. It is 1/3 of a circle. It does bend. I noticed that it does tweak a little bit, so be very careful when you work on tripods. But it's not that bad. The key is that motion, and as you can see in some of the videos that are playing right now, you know, how you set up the camera, etc., is totally flexible. You can go about it. The really nice thing about this that I like, and I'm just going to take this all apart. There's my little knob, my little parts. Take some more. And I just really recommend that you get yourself a Ziploc baggie or something to put all these screws in, as well as the parts. And get those screws so that you don't have trouble finding them when you need them. Put everything in there. You'll find for the quart size, you got to take one of the legs off on all these little stands. So that fits in there. Put the bumpers. One more. As you're watching those videos, have a look at how the line is tensioning and things of that sort while I put all this stuff away. Because there is one more important thing I want to show you that's really cool about this particular curved slider. It comes with a nice bag so that you can put this guy away. And it has a nice pouch that comes with it so that you can put all your parts, bits and pieces and components. Get this untangled here. Take this base off. There's the Genie base. The slider itself. And by the way, this thing has both 3/8 and 1/4 inch, so it will work with any kind of head, and of course with the Genie. And then you put all your bits and pieces away in here. Okay, so after getting a sledgehammer, anyways, I got all the parts in here so that it fits. You just have to kind of wiggle it a little bit. And then this simply wraps around the rail itself, or the slider, and then you're ready to go. Let's call it the big boomerang. The end result is the Genie works very well as long as you have good tension on both ends of the rope. And to make adjustments, you can pull this through so that when you first mount it, you know, to get that slack on the one end. Kind of cool. Experiment, try out different things. I have some great other ideas I'm going to do with this thing that I'll be talking about in the not too distant future. Anyways, hope that gives you an idea of some of the things you can do. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Check out my blog at Stock Media Artist. I try to keep things up to date, but we're coming right into the monsoon season right now, so I may be getting a little bit busy chasing some of the storms, filming lightning. That's one of my things. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.